It was supposed to be the biggest deal of the quarter, $2.3 billion on the table. I'd spent the last 6 months preparing every line of that infrastructure agreement, coaching the team on protocol, timing every move down to the second. And I was damn good at it. 15 years at Danner & Company, senior liaison for Middle East accounts, never lost a contract, never missed a flight, never left a client without shaking hands properly in their language, their way. That morning, I walked into the Manhattan conference suite like I always did. Early, sharp, ready. Evan Mathers was already at the head of the table, smooth suit, fake smile, fresh off his shiny Wharton MBA. He gave me a nod like I was the intern delivering lunch. Then she walked in. Layla. I'd seen her around, 26, junior analyst, pretty sharp with numbers, no field experience. She smiled nervously as Evan pulled out a chair for her, next to the Gulf State chairman. I waited, headset ready, assuming I'd do the usual, translate, smooth over phrasing, manage tone. But Evan tapped his mic and said, "Everyone, this is Layla. She'll be handling interpretation today." I froze for half a second, thought I misheard. Then Layla cleared her throat and started. Her voice trembled. The first sentence in Arabic came out broken. Second line didn't come at all. She stalled halfway through a key greeting, blinked, then glanced at me like a student who hadn't studied for the test. The room went silent. Tense, embarrassing. Before we continue, quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Evan leaned across the table like it was just another team huddle and said, "Mark, your role's no longer required moving forward. HR will be waiting downstairs." That was it, just like that. I didn't argue, didn't make a scene. I just took off the headset slowly, placed it on the table, and looked across at the Gulf chairman. His face was unreadable at first. Then his eyes met mine. One slow nod. The kind of look that doesn't need translation. He knew exactly what just happened. I stood up, buttoned my jacket, and walked out. Every step toward the elevator felt heavier than the last. The kind of betrayal that doesn't stab. It slices clean and lets the silence bleed. I didn't even stop at HR, just walked past their glass office like I hadn't heard a damn thing. Elevator ride felt endless, that silent drop from top floor to lobby, while my mind replayed every late night I'd put in for this place. I remembered my first day at Danner. September, muggy, rain soaking through the shoulders of my cheap gray suit. Secondhand briefcase with a busted latch. Inside it, a folder of client notes and a battered Arabic dictionary I'd carried since college. That was my secret weapon. No one cared what school I went to or what degrees I had. What mattered was that I knew the culture, the tone, the weight of every word exchanged across those conference tables. Back then I made coffee and ran copies like anyone else. But when our Egypt account manager froze during a casual breakfast with a delegate, I jumped in with a quick translation. Just small talk, harmless. But the Egyptian guy lit up and laughed. After that, I started tagging along to meetings. Not invited, just present. I translated jokes, corrected greetings, rewrote phrasing quietly when a sales guy butchered a blessing. No one asked, I just did it. A few months in, I stayed past midnight helping rewrite a legal doc that almost violated customs law during Ramadan, saved us a fine and a PR headache. Not one mention in the debrief. The team lead got a bonus. Didn't matter, I told myself I was building something, brick by brick, one win at a time. Riyadh was the first time I realized I could do more than help. I could change outcomes. We were about to lose a $380 million infrastructure deal because some hotshot director used a metaphor about crushing deadlines. The delegate took offense. I jumped in with a proverb, something my father used to say, "He who hurries misses the camel." The room relaxed. That single line turned an insult into wisdom. Everyone smiled. Deal closed next day. I didn't get so much as an email. Before we move on, while you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. The guy who delivered the opening statement got credit. Always did. I was just the guy in the corner who made sure nothing fell apart. There were moments I could have spoken up, could have said, "Hey, I fixed that." But something always stopped me. Pride, fear, maybe both. I told myself someone up top saw the work, that staying humble would pay off. I kept solving problems they didn't even know existed. Once caught a shipping delay in Jeddah that would have pushed us into Eid holiday closure. timed a reroute that got the goods in with hours to spare. Another time, I flagged a clause in a customs document that accidentally turned a routine gift into a taxable bribe. Quiet fixes, quick saves, no praise, no spotlight. Even Evan, before his title was VP anything, had leaned on me early on. He once panicked during a call with a Bahrain team when he misused an expression about cutting corners. I texted him mid-call with the correct phrasing, smoothed it over. He barely acknowledged it, and I still showed up early, still stayed late, still carried that damn dictionary out of habit, even though I didn't need it anymore. The way some guys carry a lucky coin. Except mine was worn at the edges from years of doing a job nobody noticed unless it went wrong. I wasn't asking for parades. I just wanted to believe it mattered, that someone above saw the constant work behind the scenes and thought, he's solid, he's earned his place. Instead, I was replaced mid-meeting by a junior analyst who couldn't finish a sentence. And no one blinked. I walked 2 blocks down to the corner diner after leaving the building, sat in the back booth and ordered black coffee, the kind that tastes like burnt dirt. I didn't even drink it, just sat there with my hands wrapped around the mug. The worst part wasn't losing the job. It was realizing that all that loyalty, all those years of showing up, solving things, saving them quietly, it had meant nothing. I left that diner when the sky turned orange and my coffee had gone cold. I didn't go home. Just walked the city in my work shoes until I hit the East River. I'd been silent for so long, swallowing hit after hit. But that day, getting erased in real time, it lit something up in me, and it all went back to Evan. He came in during my 12th year at Danner. Looked like he belonged on a startup brochure. Perfect smile, expensive watch, one of those tailored shirts that somehow always stayed crisp. First meeting he ran, he threw out 3 buzzwords in 5 minutes. Streamline, scale, cut inefficiencies. I remember leaning back and thinking, all right, here we go. Another one of those. Evan didn't ask questions. He didn't listen. He saw numbers, not nuance. Relationships, culture, tone. He called it fluff. Said we needed predictable pipelines, not personal politics. That first year, he trampled every line we'd carefully drawn over a decade. Delegates ghosted us. Response times got slower. He didn't notice. He just kept pushing out slide decks. Then came that draft deal with Bahrain. He rushed the contract through legal and shot it off without looping me in. I skimmed it during a late-night file sync and almost choked on what I saw. There was a finance clause, looked normal in English. But in Arabic, it directly contradicted Islamic banking rules, like telling someone you respect their religion, then sliding a pork sandwich across the table. I rewrote it immediately, quietly. Changed the phrasing, flipped the order, included a line citing Sharia compliance structure, sent it to legal, told them it came from leadership. The deal went through, no issues. Next week, I passed by the boardroom. Evan's voice loud and clear through the glass. Guys like Mark mean well, but they slow things down with all the hand-holding. I stopped walking, just stood there. Part of me wanted to knock on the glass and say, you mean the hand-holding that saved your ass last Tuesday? But I didn't. I just kept walking. Quick check-in. Before we go further, how's your day going and where are you joining from? From that moment on, every interaction with Evan was like walking across thin ice. No warning signs, just the constant creak under your feet. He'd smile in meetings, ask for input, then ignore it. Forwarded emails meant for me to interns, told the translation team they'd be phased out soon. Once called me legacy talent in a strategy memo. Sounded like a compliment, but I knew what it meant. One time, he presented a new engagement model to the board. Half the slides were based on systems I'd built. My formatting, even my sentence structure. He didn't just take credit, he acted like he invented it. I kept my head down, but I was watching. Every meeting, every email, every forced handshake. The cracks were showing. He didn't know how to adapt. The Saudis started giving us shorter replies. The Emiratis stopped inviting us to planning events. He called it a regional slowdown. It was a trust breakdown. He just didn't see it. And the more I patched up behind him, the more he tried to push me out. Like I was the reminder that he didn't actually know what he was doing. I remember a call with a Kuwaiti rep. Evan was leading. The guy made a joke, cultural, a little pointed. Evan laughed too hard and said something about wasting time on ceremony. Dead silence. I jumped in with a phrase about mutual respect, shifted the tone, smoothed it over, again. He hung up and said, "Appreciate the assist, Mark." but they'll get used to our pace soon. They wouldn't. But I didn't argue. I just logged the moment, like every other one. By year 13, I stopped thinking I'd outwork him. I knew what he was doing. He wanted my seat, and he was patient, polite, smiling his way through a slow kill. But what he didn't know, what he never cared to learn, was that some of us weren't just translators. We were the reason the bridge never fell. By the time the Gulf contract hit final phase, I knew Evan would try something. So I stopped waiting for backup and just handled it myself. Every prep detail, mine. Gift selection, travel timing, phrasing protocol, dress code, formalities, even the room temperature for the signing. I wrote the speech in regional dialect, with specific references to family values and shared history. Took me a week. I knew what I was doing. What Evan didn't know? That the draft from legal came with a clause buried 28 pages in. Technical, dry, but sharp if you understood it. Clause 47, B. Designated liaison voice print authentication must remain continuous through agreement execution. Substitution triggers auto-termination. No appeal. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even red flagged. It was just there. Legal had added it after a request from their side. Something about continuity assurance and trust. Nobody noticed, but I did. I reread it 3 times, highlighted nothing, flagged nothing, just kept prepping. That clause wasn't a bomb. It was a tripwire, and Evan didn't even see it. I wasn't trying to sabotage anything. I didn't slip it in. I didn't call legal. I didn't hide it. I just didn't say a damn word. Let him feel in charge. The morning before the signing, Evan strolled into my office with a coffee he didn't offer to share, flipped through the printed speech I left on my desk. "This is too long," he said, frowning. "Keep it short. These guys don't need a poem." I kept my voice even. "It's not a poem. It's respect. Each line matches a key in their tribal structure. Skip the order, and we're signaling ignorance." He waved it off. "They'll survive." Then he smirked. "Besides, Layla's presenting." And there it was. Before we move on, tell us in the comments which city or country you're watching from. I just nodded. No fight, no pushback. Let him dig the hole, because I'd already prepped everything under my credentials. The language, the tone, the verified voice sample baked into the contract. My name, my sound print. Layla wasn't registered, neither was Evan. But I wasn't going to stop him. He wanted the spotlight? Fine, he could have it. I wasn't being petty. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was just done handing over my seat while someone else burned the bridge behind me. And that clause, that wasn't revenge either. It was insurance. Quiet, written, legal leverage. If he had bothered to ask me, really ask me, I might have walked him through it. Might have helped him set it up right. But he didn't. He wanted me gone. So I let him take the wheel, let him pick the wrong driver, and I sat back, silent, as we rolled right toward the edge. Layla stood stiff in front of the Gulf delegation, paper trembling in her hands. Her blazer looked too new, hair too polished. She opened her mouth and started reading the speech I'd written, line for line. First few sentences? Passable. A little flat, but technically fine. Then came the key phrase, the one that should have said, "We enter this honored partnership with deep gratitude." She hesitated, just a beat too long, then said it wrong. "We enter this burden partnership." I closed my eyes. Nobody flinched, no sharp reactions. The Gulf chairman didn't blink. The other reps didn't whisper. But everything shifted. The warmth in the room vanished like a switch had been flipped. You don't call a blessing a burden in front of men who measure words like gold. The chairman gave a single nod. Not disrespectful. Just done. And that box of medjool dates I'd sourced from his family's region, the ones I'd had flown in, with silk ribbon matching the tribal colors, handed over like a forgotten party favor. Evan smiled through it like nothing was wrong, clapped Layla on the back like she'd just nailed a TED Talk. Then he looked at me. "Mark, can I see you outside for a second?" I followed him into the hallway. 2 HR reps stood there holding an envelope. No emotion, no hesitation. "Effective immediately," one of them said. "Your transition is complete." No thank you, no handshake, just cold policy paper and a fake smile. I nodded. Didn't say a word. Walked back into the boardroom without asking. I could feel HR trailing behind me like mall cops. I walked up to the table, picked up my notepad, and looked the Gulf chairman straight in the eye. In Arabic, slow and deliberate, I said, "Your decision today will be remembered." He didn't hesitate, met my gaze and replied, "So will yours. We understand." Then he gave me the same nod he gave me the day Evan tried to erase me. That silent agreement between men who knew the value of a bridge burned by someone else's hand. I walked out without another word. That night, my phone buzzed at 11:42 p.m. Internal system notification, change in liaison designation, voice print deactivated. Protocol 7 triggered. That clause I'd flagged in silence, it kicked in. The contract suspended, automatically. No debate, no extensions. The file marked, pending reinstatement of original liaison. I poured myself a whiskey. Sat by the window, didn't say a word, didn't text anyone. Next morning, it hit the newswire. Danner and Company. Deal with Gulf State temporarily suspended due to breach of continuity clause. They didn't name me, but I didn't need the headline. I knew exactly what had just happened. I didn't reply, didn't explain, didn't defend a damn thing. Instead, I turned my phone face down, poured myself another drink, and sat by the window. Didn't even bother with the lights. The glass was cool in my hand. City lights blinked like they were in on the secret. I didn't send a warning, didn't leak anything, didn't poke the fire. I just let the system do what it was built to do. Next morning, the headlines hit. Danner and Company infrastructure. Deal terminated. Breach of continuity, buried 3 paragraphs down. Due to failure in authorized liaison protocol. That was the polite version. Internally, it read, 11% drop in 2 hours. Investors panicked. Regional clients started going dark. Then came the real blow. Someone, probably on the Gulf team, posted the full video clip of the signing, Layla's mistake. The exact moment she said burden partnership instead of honored. The stiffness, the cold stares. The gift box passed like a forgotten receipt. But this time, it had Arabic subtitles. It went viral. Hashtags. Damam Arif Shuraka'ak. Know your partners. Wanch el-ihtiram al asas. Respect matters. Middle Eastern forums tore Danner apart. Analysts, business figures, even journalists jumped in. Said the company traded the only bridge for a tourist with a guidebook. Didn't take long for the English versions to follow. Some called it arrogance. Others said it was ignorance dressed in a suit. My favorite line? Danner replaced fluency with PowerPoint. I kept the TV muted, just let the ticker run while I sipped my drink. Calls came in, messages piled up, from Layla, from a few ex-colleagues, from Gulf reps. I didn't answer any of them. A few people asked if I had done it on purpose. Number. But I'd seen it coming, and I didn't get in the way. Some people think silence is surrender, but silence can be a blade. I let it cut, let it bleed, let them sit in the consequences they didn't think would ever reach them. They thought I was just the interpreter, just the bridge. Turns out, when you burn a bridge mid-crossing, everyone falls. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel guilty either. I just watched. Watched them realize too late that the one person they thought was disposable was the only reason the whole thing worked in the first place. By Tuesday, the boardroom turned into a war zone. Executives scrambling to spin the fallout. Regional leads pointing fingers. Legal trying to figure out how a routine clause tanked a deal that size. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but they all knew the truth. Someone didn't read. Someone cut the wrong thread and thought the rope would hold. The CEO tried his usual PR tone, called it a hiccup in internal reorganization, tried to shift focus to emerging markets. Nobody bought it. Evan, he leaned back in his chair like he still had control, said, "It wasn't a big deal." One word. The clients overreacted. Then he added, "Cultural nuance isn't quantifiable." The room went dead quiet. The Gulf investor rep, we'd worked together twice in person, just looked at him across the table and asked, flat out, "Do you even know who they trusted?" No one answered. But they didn't have to. Word spread faster than they could contain it. And not through news or press. This was quieter, heavier, respect level quiet. The kind where meetings stopped being scheduled, where calls stopped being returned, where signed commitments suddenly need more time. Middle Eastern clients, some I'd built from scratch, started pulling out. Not loudly, not in protest, just gone. One after another, $4.8 billion worth of future projects, paused or pulled. Delegates flew home early. Regional offices started scaling back their staff. Investors noticed. Fast. Stock dipped another 4% by Wednesday, then 6%. You can fake confidence in a press conference. You can't fake trust in a contract room. Evan kept his title for 3 more days. That Friday, he got reassigned. Quietly, no announcement, no speech. Just an updated org chart. Vice President of Domestic Strategy. No more global in the title. No international briefings, no travel. They parked him in a low-floor office with no window. I knew that space. It used to be where they stored unopened promo boxes and backup routers. He didn't message me, didn't call. Maybe he knew I wouldn't answer. Or maybe he finally understood what he'd done. But I'll say this, he didn't get fired. Danner doesn't fire their own. They just bury them in roles nobody respects and hope they resign. Layla disappeared too. One day she was in the org chart, next day she wasn't. Probably got paid to vanish. That's what they do with the embarrassments they can't explain. I watched it all from a distance, quiet, still. Didn't make a scene, didn't post, didn't brag. But make no mistake, this wasn't karma. This was cause and effect. They forgot who held the keys to the relationship, and they paid the price like amateurs. Monday morning, the letter was already waiting at my door. Heavy paper, real signature, no logo, no recruiter nonsense, just 5 lines in perfect formal English. We'd like to meet. Tuesday, 10 a.m., our New York office. Sincerely, Chairman Arafi. That was it. Not an invite, not a request. A statement. I showed up early. Dark blue suit, no tie. Building was tucked off 5th. Nothing flashy, just sharp. Security buzzed me up without a badge. When the elevator doors opened, 2 staff members stood waiting. Both smiled, greeted me in Arabic. It was small, but it landed hard. I'd walked into hundreds of rooms like this on their behalf, always behind someone else's nameplate. This time, they were waiting for me. The conference room was full, but quiet. No corporate theater, just 5 people, no distractions, no stack of resumes on the table. The chairman stood and shook my hand. "Welcome," he said, calm and direct. "We were hoping you'd come." I sat down, didn't even ask what the meeting was about, didn't need to. He got right to it. "We want you as our exclusive U.S. consultant. No middlemen, full autonomy, name on the door, twice your previous salary. No pitch, no negotiation, just the facts." Before I could answer, he added, "We were testing them, you know." I raised an eyebrow. "Testing?" He nodded slowly. "We wanted to see if they valued the relationship, or just the resume." That line sat in the air like thunder. I didn't have questions. I didn't stall. I signed the agreement right there, no hesitation. They didn't ask for a start date. They already knew I was ready. Afterward, we sat for tea in the chairman's private office. No small talk. He just said, "What you built wasn't a service. It was a bridge. They stepped on it." I nodded. He poured the tea himself. The walls were lined with maps, project blueprints. He pointed to one, Saudi coast. "This was yours. They didn't know it, but we did." I looked at him. "What happens to them now?" He shrugged. "They'll recover, but not here." It wasn't anger, it was fact. That's what trust means in their world. When it's broken, it's not fixed, it's replaced. He walked me out personally. No assistant, no handshake in the lobby, just a quiet goodbye at the door. I stepped onto the sidewalk with the offer folder under my arm. Didn't feel like revenge, didn't feel like victory. It felt like the noise had finally stopped. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a clean break. For the first time in 15 years, I wasn't someone's backup plan. They didn't just see what I did, they valued it, and they put my name on it. First, bold, and permanent. A month later, I stepped off the plane in Riyadh. No handler, no name tag. Just me in a leather briefcase with my initials on it. Arafi HQ sat near the edge of the financial district. Clean lines, polished stone, a calm hum beneath the heat. The lobby smelled like leather and sandalwood. Familiar, grounded, like the old meetings I used to prep for other people. The receptionist stood as I walked in. "Good morning, Mr. Davis," she said in Arabic. I smiled, replied back in the same dialect. Smooth, natural, no one watching over my shoulder. No VP waiting to twist my words. No intern feeding lines. Upstairs, the elevator opened straight into the executive floor. No keycard, no pause. Just a quiet hallway, and the chairman already standing at the door, waiting. We shook hands. He didn't waste time. "What are your thoughts on the Kuwait roadmap?" he asked. I pulled out my notes. Merge the infrastructure bids into one pitch. Frame it around sustainability, not labor. Focus on generational value, honor, not urgency. He nodded once. "Approved." No edits, no filters. No boardroom circus. I looked around the room. Project maps everywhere, some still in early sketches. My initials were already marked on 2 of them. Danner and Company, blacklisted, unofficially, from 3 regional councils. Quiet exile. Nothing in the papers, but the numbers told the story. Estimated losses, over $5 billion in future contracts. They'd scrambled to patch it, but trust wasn't something you fixed with press statements. I didn't think about them much anymore. Didn't check their stock, didn't track their moves. I stood by the window of the chairman's office, watching the golden light roll over the edge of the city. Rooftops glinting, traffic inching along like it had nowhere to be, and I felt it. Not pride, not vengeance. Just relief. The noise was gone, the weight of carrying people who never saw me, gone. They didn't just lose a deal. They lost the one person who kept the bridge from collapsing every time they stepped on it like it owed them something. Now, I was on the other side, still building bridges. But this time, the foundation had my name carved right into the stone.